It just cut out on me and then came back. So, I don't know. It's playing some weird games with me. I hope you guys can see me. Just refresh your stream if you need to. Before I start a game, though, I want to make sure that everything is good. I think that we're good to go. Something weird going on with OBS. The first time I've launched it in like 10 days. The broadcasting software, but now it looks better again. If you guys are watching me on Twitch, just make sure you try to reload the stream. And anyway, we're just talking in the Twitch chat about, you know, possible candidates for the World Championship, and you guys that watch the stream regularly know that I really like Kramnik and especially Aronian, and these guys are probably my favorite players. So it's nice to see these players do really well in a tournament like Norway. I think Aronian right now is probably playing the best chess of anyone in the world. I think that he also would have been a great challenger in the previous World Championship match, but just couldn't get there. So we'll see what happens with that. You know, it looks like we're looks like we're up and running, and the stream looks good. I had some issues. Sometimes it's a little buggy when I don't stream for a while. Wow, we've got 2 viewers. Nobody knows I'm streaming. I didn't put lichess.org in the title. That's probably a problem. We're Alright. We're gonna have a problem here. Alright. Let's see. I may lose the stream for a minute. I'm not really sure. But you guys just bear with me here. Because I have to re-log into Twitch before we get started. Just bear with me. Hopefully it will let me log in. Getting through some technical stuff here so I can get started, but it looks like my internet's good. It looks like OBS is working now. I just have to sign in and sign out of Twitch to get the stream to work for me now. Looks like it's working. Now I had got the... Okay, we got the lichess in the title and it's working. Awesome. We've got good internet. It took us 10 minutes. We're a little behind schedule. We've got good internet. We've got OBS working and Twitch is up. Now we've got 6 viewers. We're rocking. So, anyway, I just played a tournament here in Hungary. It was like a really small GM tournament. I had a terrible game yesterday. It was embarrassing. Like, the guy was lost out of the opening, and then I missed it, and then he was winning, and then he messed it up, and then it was a draw, and then I lost the drawing position. It was, like, totally sick. So that's what I'm coming off of. Anyway, even from that worst game, I learned something. So you guys can check out my study. If you go to studies and you look for studies that I've done, I put a study in lichess called the Balaton GM Tournament. If you're interested in the games I played this past week, you can check it out. We're going to be streaming here today, tomorrow. Friday is open question because I'm getting ready to move to the U.S. for 2 months. Visit my family there and get rid of this feeling of homesickness I get every year. We are probably not going to be playing any chess tournaments over the summer. There's a small possibility of the U.S. Open or maybe a Swiss locally in Massachusetts. Anyway, hello World Loser, Arsenal fan, Richie, Plukro. You guys are my most devoted friends here. Plukro is our moderator. We really appreciate him. Anyway, in a few minutes, I'll wait for a few people to join us. We're going to get started playing challengers. I have 4 challenges at the moment. I'm a little late to get the stream up on lichess because I forgot to put lichess in the title. When I don't do this for like 10 days, I get a little bit confused. What Arsenal fan says? What? I haven't. Oh, you're just talking on the stream. Okay. Mead. Oh my God. You're like, it's like made with honey or something. I've heard of that. It's like what they used to drink in like the time of King Arthur. Why do you live in Hungary and not in the U.S.? I love this question. Because Hungary is a cool place. It's also a lot less, expensive than living in the United States. There's a lot more chess in Europe than the United States, and also I have family here, so I own a place to live in Hungary, and I don't own any place to live in the United States. So there's just tons of reasons. But that's the way it is. Arsenal fan Richie, SXPG, Plukro, Lousy Dirty Cheater. Good to see you guys. Okay, you're talking. So I thought mead was more like beer for some reason. I thought it was like. I always had this idea of mead. I don't know why Richie brought this up, but it's like a medieval drink or something. I always had the idea it was more like beer. Good to know, Rich. So Arsenal fan Richie, SXPG, Plukro. We're gonna choose the opponent at random. I'm just gonna use the random number generator here on Twitch. And we will play challenges at random, anything between 5 plus 3 and 8 plus 3. Cosine 180, how you doing, man? If you guys want to compliment me on how young I look, feel free to do so. My last opponent was like telling me that, Blue Barlow, what's up? Listened to some Sebedo recently. My last opponent was like, he said his friends and him prepared, and they, like when they saw my birthday in the database, they said I was just a really old guy. And then when he met me, he told his friend, like, this dude isn't old. There's something wrong with the information in the database. So I looking young, bro. I don't look as old as I am, and I said earlier I'm never gonna get older than 39, so that seems to be holding. But if you do beat someone, it's a really good idea to like tell them that they look a lot younger than they really are, and tell them that you want to buy them lunch. That definitely a good idea if you beat somebody. So I rolled a 1. All right, we're gonna play with Arsenal fan Richie. You guys can challenge me anything between like 5 plus 3 and 8 plus 3. Yesterday, for those of you who just joined, I lost my tournament game. It was like the most embarrassing game I played in a long time. I had a winning position after 13 moves, didn't win, and then I had a lost position after a really long game. And the guy couldn't convert this queen versus rook and bishop endgame, and I forced a drawn position, and then I lost that too. So it was like the result just like changed like 10 times. I should have won, then I should have lost, and it should have been a draw, and I lost. Really bad. I had a lot of Sicilians in the tournament I played. Bake Sale. I like that, but I'm not really sure which is the best album from Sebedo. I think, I don't know. It's a good question. Alright, E4, C5. It was funny before Cosine, they had parental control. Am I old enough to be on the internet alone? Yeah, it's genetic. I just look younger than I really am. It's kind of scary that I have my first couple of games in the chess database from the 80s. So just be careful, I'm like a vampire. Lived in previous centuries and stuff. Knight F3, D6. My first game in the chess database is like losing to Ginji Hashvili in 1988. If you look me up. Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, 1988. Roman took me out in a King's Indian. He was white. Alright, Bishop B5 check. I really need to learn another line here. But the only one I really know, Bishop D7 is the main line, but it's boring, and there's really very little dynamics for black. So I would recommend like either of the alternatives. All the professionals play like knight to d7, but black gets a little bit slow to develop in those lines. So I transpose to the Rasalimo here. Regenerates. Man, why couldn't I regenerate before my last round game? I was so disrupted. I'm like a creature of habit, and every game was in the afternoon at this tournament I just played, except for the last round, which was in the morning. And the change in schedule just totally messed me up. I just like couldn't concentrate. I didn't eat before the game. It's not a good idea, you know. If you do play chess in a serious setting, I recommend that you eat like several hours before the game. Not like right before the game, because that's bad too. But if you are going to play a serious game, the ideal is to eat like 2.5 hours, 2 hours before the game. And then you're like full and you have lots of energy. Yesterday I played a 5-hour game, eating very little, and it was a bad idea. I didn't have energy. Knight d7 saves the two bishops, but black gets very, very far behind in development, and it's really... I mean, objectively against bishop b5 check, I think that all three moves are... They're just different stylistically. They're all playable. So Arsenal fan Richie, I played this line quite a bit for black. It's the most dynamic. Occasionally, like, you'll get people who played h3. The only time I ever beat Tony Miles, he played h3 against me. It's an inferior move. We've had games where white did stuff like just quietly playing like d3 in this kind of line, like exchange Roy Lopez or something. But I think that's also passive, you know. So it looks like Richie did the right move with c3, but he's supposed to break with d4 here. And you can also play, I think, pawn takes f5. Actually, no, I take it back. You can't play d4 because you probably can play d4, but I think the main line is e takes f, and even queen a4. I think Nigel Short actually played this. It's a weird move, but d3 is a little bit passive for white. I don't really like c3 and d3. I think, like, you know, they don't necessarily work together. It should be like c3 with the idea of d4, or else just d3. Because I think, you know, it doesn't make sense, really, the combination of c3 and d3. If you play d3, then just play d3. If you're going to play for d4, then you should go, you know, having said c3, you should probably play for d4. Nakamura contact Twitch streamer Recful, because he wanted to know how to make money on Twitch, apparently. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of weird, though. Like, I don't know the guy, but... You know, if somebody contacts you about something, I mean, I don't know why you'd, like, post it for other people to see. Ages of Empire streamers have been cashing in quite well too, despite being old and hardly played. Yeah, I don't know enough about streaming myself. I mean, I just kind of do it, you know. I'm not in this for the money, as you guys know. I mean, I can probably increase my profit, you know, but I mean, I'm doing this for the fun of it, and I just enjoy doing it. It's kind of like a bonus for me. I teach chess. I have private students, but that's my primary source of income. You know, Twitch streaming for me is, it's not about, like, my life. It's not, like, what I'm trying to do, you know, to make a living, but to enhance it, you know. I mean, a lot of people are just all about money, you know, and I don't like that, you know, when people become all about money. Chess for me, it's about, I love to play chess. So... Hikaru is, I guess, looking for ways to make money. He has to make money. But I don't know why a guy would post that, like his private conversation with Hikaru. That seems very strange to me. Okay, King h8. We're getting off this long diagonal because this, you know, he had some ideas of like Queen b3. By the way, I'm a little bit groggy as I was yesterday morning, so I might miss some tactics here, as I did yesterday. 13 moves, I had a forced win. I saw it, but I just kind of, have you guys ever played this sort of game where the opponent makes a move you didn't expect, and like you could maybe take something or go into some kind of sharp continuation, but you just sort of felt lazy and just kind of believed them. I just believed him that, if he played it, it must be sound, and so without really like deeply calculating every line, I just was like, all right, yeah, okay, I believe you, and it just didn't work. Like, he's just busted. I mean, it's okay. So Queen A4, nibbling at my pawn chain, nibble. That looks kind of. Who's that nibbling on my house? You guys are too young to know. The animated Fractured Fairy Tales, Bullwinkle and Rocky and Bullwinkle the Moose. There was this old funny series of fairy tales where they were reversed. I'm just thinking about you're trying to nibble on my gingerbread house here with queen takes c6, but I don't think that looks healthy for your queen, or your queen can almost get trapped in these lines. It's sort of like the queen can actually get trapped. I think that it's almost like a fake threat. But nevertheless, it's a little awkward for me to defend against it. Maybe queen b6 or queen c7, queen b6. I don't want my pieces to get tied down awkwardly. We also have queen b7, queen b5, queen b6, queen b5, which is kind of awkward, but I'm getting low on time. You guys know about Bullwinkle the Moose? Okay, so this is a guy who made a lot of money streaming, and Nakamura wants to latch on to him. People that love money, will latch on to other people. It's a typical kind of thing. And I imagine that person gets a lot of people trying to latch onto them. So, anyway, it's none of my business. So here we go. Queen b5. This is a little bit awkward. Now at this point, I think I'm almost forced to play queen b5. I could play queen c7. Queen b5, take. And then knight a5 takes on e4. Okay, his knight gets pretty much off sides here. Yeah, I'm talking about not that. I don't think so. It's called Fractured Fairy Tales. It was a very old American animated series, or maybe Canadian. I'm not sure if it was American or Canadian, but Rocky the Squirrel and Bullwinkle the Moose. But anyway, the same animators made a series called Fractured Fairy Tales, which were like all these fairy tales, just made in a kind of funny way. It's like funny for adults. It's not. A lot of the humor is kind of not really for little kids, and it's just for all ages. So they reversed the stories of the fairy tales. Like, it's a long story, but anyway. I just felt that Arsenal fan was sort of nibbling on my pawn chain there, and reminded me of this episode in Fractured Fairy Tales where the witch in the Hansel and Gretel story was like complaining about the little kids eating our house, But it was, it wasn't like, it was reruns when I watched it on TV. I'm not that old. Richie just took on f6. Okay. You have kind of classical two knights. versus bishops here. This is a kind of wacky position. It's a good question as to how to recapture in this position. You could also take with the pawn, but it leaves a big hole on f5. You know, the more I play with Arsenal fan Richie, the more I'm, you know, kind of impressed with, like, how strategic he is. You know, he's very positional. Most of my opponents aren't so, let's say, like, strategic. This is not necessarily better for black, because, well, actually, I wonder. I'm concerned about a very concrete thing here. This break with a4, I don't like that. I think it would be very disruptive. Maybe there's no, you know, there's no letting him like take on b5 because he'll take over the a file. So I'm not happy about a4, and you know, a lot of people just think that bishops are always better, but it's not. That's not how chess works. I mean, especially when you have the two knights in a closed position. There are 16 pawns on the board here. This is an extremely closed or potentially closed type of position. So the knights aren't really worse than the bishops here. I was barely 38 at the time. Welcome everyone to my chess stream here on lichess and Twitch. I've been away for 10 days, so a lot of people probably don't even realize that I'm streaming. It's good to maintain kind of consistency with that. Rich is got a very, very positional style. These knights are getting on my nerves at this point, but we can hit one of them here. bg5. It's like a Sveshnikov for black. Now I have one bishop that's kind of very active, and the other one, potential, is very good for the bishop on c8. But I guess this is like equal. I mean, again, like, people overvalue the value of the two bishops. They hear about two bishops in the books, and this position, you know, I just don't feel that my two bishops are better than his two knights. It's just too many pawns on board. There's no open lines, and I don't have any targets here. So I'm equal, but I'm not better. You know, I mean, if we put this on the engine, and he's closing it up now with this. Trying to lock it all the time. I'm trying to maintain fluidity and then not lock it if I don't have to. Maybe I could get some play on the f file, but I need to reorganize. That rook on b8 would like to be maybe on like f8. What are we going to do now? I mean, g6 looks kind of slow. We can try a different plan. Let's try something different. I'm not going to give you knight d2 anymore. I was debating between this and the other move, d8. The idea is to get him on the f-file. Now he finally, I want to say he finally cracked and gave up his strong point on e4. Feels like a small concession for white. You know, maybe not so small, actually. He's going to allow me to get a lot of pressure and even potentially win material. And he might have some sort of counterplay. but I think he was equal till he gave up his center with e takes f. So now Rich just blundered, and he's down an exchange here with no realistic, like a little bit of compensation maybe. It's a little awkward to find a way to break through here, but I think that black. Okay, my bishop is not the greatest. All of his pawns are on white squares except for the pawn on f2. I don't like g3 because that loses control of f3 a little bit. Still not that easy for me to progress here. Bishop g5, knight g2, rook f3. I think we've got it. Oh, he has a defense to that even. So we have to find another way in. It looks like I can't get in directly. Wow, he just instantly played f4. But this simplification, I mean, well, don't I have g5 here? He's still not losing a piece, but it's not really good for him. Feels like he was just a hair's breadth, as they say, away from an equal game. Just a glance at the computer, like, let's go back to where what I felt like lost the game or started to lose it, taking on f5. Like this position, this is move 23 when he took on f5, you know, giving up the center. I thought in this situation he's just like infinitesimally worse. But objectively, like white is okay here. So I think just the time pressure got to be a little bit too much there. Not easy playing those bishops in a closed structure with so many pawns on the board. I don't think that it's a really significant advantage as it would be in other situations. So anyway, welcome to the stream, guys. I'm International Master William Paschall. I'm back after 10 days being away. I scored 4 out of 9, a kind of disappointing result in the tournament I just played because I lost my last round game, which was a catastrophe. Just a horrible game I'm ashamed to have been a part of. Anyway, nothing against my opponent, but we both made a lot of mistakes. So we will be back today, tomorrow, and maybe Friday, and then Sunday I'm probably going to do a simul, as I usually do. Sunday, 6:30 p.m. CEST. Then this coming week, I'm leaving for the US, so we're going to switch the time to a more like Eastern time, USA sort of stream. If you guys want to challenge me, just please do so. We're choosing the challenges at random, so challenge 4, Satsit, 5 plus 3, we're Sakit. Five plus 3. Anything between 5 plus 3 and 8 plus 3 with an increment of 3 to 5 seconds, please. 8 plus 3 maximum. Challenge to a casual game, thank you. Yeah, at least 50 games, just so you have an established account. In my tournament that I just played, like every single game where I was black, I think all 5 were Sicilians. It's weird. Like, it's just weird. Before that, I hadn't had a Sicilian in like 3 tournaments. Like, literally. And then suddenly, everybody, like, wanted me to play the Sicilian, which was fine. I only lost 1 game. It looked like some kind of home prep in a rouser. This kid, Daniel Gurovich, played this variation that, like, he really seemed like he had prepared for me at home or something. Okay, knight c3 is actually transposing back into some kind of Veresov. So we've been here before. It's not the London system anymore when white plays knight c3. Just be aware, this is no longer a London system. It's a kind of Veresov. Mark Hebden has a name for this. He calls it the Barry attack, after the English player John, I think it's John Barry. So Hebden scored a lot of points, but he usually puts his knight on f3 and plays h3. There are various ways for white to play. I don't think that there's anything wrong with c6 here. I can also castle or play bishop g7, allowing knight b5, but I don't like my knight getting sucked out to a6 where it's kind of out of position. That's another possibility. I think you can play bishop g7. More or less, it's definitely more aggressive than the Colley system. There, you know, Hebden, who's a grandmaster from England, you guys, he's old school, older than me. You know, he doesn't play stuff that's like passive. I mean, Hebden basically would play like knight f3, bishop e2, h3, and then later he would go like h4, h5. Or actually, he wouldn't always play h3. He might just go h4, h5 straight away. It's basically turned into kind of like a very aggressive sort of system for white. But I'm not I'm not sure about this exact position. What I'm supposed to do. I mean, I know that queen a5 is an idea. Anyway, this is kind of a fast game, so I think you could consider queen b6 just making him play rook b1, and then like he can't castle queenside later on. It's certainly viable. I mean, the Colley system is meant to be kind of, yeah, like a very solid, quiet system. I played h4. This is pretty standard, I think. Wonder where this guy's from. India. Okay. It's probably someone that we played who has a new account. Although he's got a lot of games, it doesn't look like a new account. I'm going to play h5 here, because I don't want him to play h5 himself. And now, we'll try to trade pieces, I guess. But it looks like he has memorized this setup for white. White is slightly better. Maybe h5 isn't the greatest for black, but it's reasonably solid. I wouldn't lose too much sleep over the Colley system. It looks like I'm playing into some kind of memorized variation. White should be slightly better now. I don't know. I don't really like the way I played this too hesitantly, like c6, and I should find something more dynamic right away, like queen a5 probably. Even c6 I don't have to play. I think that it's a little inherently passive. So I would like to play a more aggressive move than c6. And then on bishop e2, I mean, I saw one game that Salem Salah played against John Wallace from Isle of Man last year, where he won, but it was bad. Salem Salah played like b5 very, very early with black. He's a crazy player. But, you know, sometimes you have to take risks. I don't know about castles kingside. It's a kind of safe move, but I don't think it really fits with white's plan here. Playing h4 and then castling kingside, to me, it doesn't seem consistent, you know. I think that although it's playable, he should castle queenside. But I wonder if I should wait on castling myself, probably. We can get a little better developed before we commit, you know. I mean, there he could play even like g4. As strange as that might seem, if I castle here, he could even play g4. I mean, our kings are on the same side. It's probably not that bad. So I was thinking, nah, I mean, maybe now just castle looks pretty sound. I can always take with the pawn on f6 in some lines too. I would say it's about equal. I just don't really like his pawn on h4 here. I mean, that could potentially lead to weaknesses for white, or be a weakness in itself. Knight takes e5 wins a pawn. How would I ever win a pawn? Yeah, he doesn't have to take with the pawn, of course. That's this is the plan, to kind of force an exchange of pieces at the very least for white. Now I have e6 maybe. I think this is a problem. He's going to be forced to make some sort of weakening move like g3. Again, I'm in time pressure though. This is a very fast game, 5+3, so I'm kind of talking about it and playing as if like it was a 7-8 minute game, as if I have more time, and I'll try not to drift into ridiculous time pressure, which I tend to do. Welcome everyone. So we've got 32 viewers. Bishop g3. Bit of an awkward moment here. But what to do now? Like knight g4, f3, knight h6. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's the problem with h3. I mean, I've got this outpost and then another outpost, and he's tied down to this pawn on h4. I just didn't like him castling kingside. Once you play h4, I mean, I think that your position is designed to castle queenside, or maybe not castle at all. Occasionally you get these people like on the white side of the King's Indian who do something like that. They'll play h4. I even lost with white when I was young, in a game or two like that. One variation in the King's Indian that sticks out is like this variation, what's it called? Kramer system, where white goes like knight ge2, and then often plays like bishop e2 and h4. Kind of the same thing. We've got modern system, and we're gonna hunt that pawn on f5. Freudian slip. We're going to hunt that pawn on h4. It's a long-term weakness. It's probably just falling. He could have played e4. Gilgamesh says, what? I'm trying to challenge you at lichess. The site says I can't. Because you like challenged me again and again and again when I was working, and I had to block you. Because every time I refused your challenge, you would just keep challenging me and keep challenging me and keep challenging me, which is really not very polite. So I blocked you on lichess because I was working. When someone declines your challenge, you should probably like take that as like a message, like, to stop challenging them because they're doing something else. So that's the reason why you can't challenge me. But I will lift the block on your account, now that you've asked me. But I remember this was like last week or something. Sometimes people, I don't understand. Like if I decline their challenge, it means that I can't or don't want to play them. So you don't just keep challenging. It keeps flopping up like this challenge while I'm trying to make a video or do something else. So yeah, nothing personal, but that's just something you've got to be respectful of people who decline your challenge. they're probably declining for a reason, you know, so. And I'm out of time? Wow. Okay, is this guy a bullet player or something? Yeah. Really, like, if you challenge someone once and they decline, you shouldn't challenge them again. It's kind of, like, impolite. I'm not really in the mood to take a second pawn here at the moment. Maybe we can do that later on. Probably I should have grabbed it, to be honest. Black is winning, but we have to be a little bit careful. Should be enough to checkmate here. Virtual mating net. Sorry guys, I'm a little bit short of time to calculate. Is he getting away? My c6 pawn is even protected here. He doesn't have any counterplay. But I think, you know, he's very close to getting mated by force. Oh, I lost on time. Okay. Good game. Interesting. Gilgamesh. Let me check. To check people that I blocked. Alright. It's a long list. More? Are there more? I don't think so. But are you on this list? You guys can see all my blocked players. It's not that long, is it? I'm surprised this list is this long. Why don't I see you on my list? I put basically anybody who's like abusive, even if it doesn't involve me, on this list. You're not on that list. So I'm a little confused, dude. I don't see you on the list. Are you sure? You're on my list of blocked players, Gilgamesh? Because I'm assuming that's what it was, but I just don't see you, man. You're not on this list. Maybe I'm misremembering. But is it not loading on my guys? Sophia Rogers was some sort of cheater, but I think using opening book mostly. Gilgamesh, can you type in your exact handle? Let's do this very quickly because I don't want to take up half the stream doing this, but because I don't know, man. I don't see you in my blocked players list. You might have a rating restriction, which is why you can't challenge. Gilgamesh? Gilgamesh. Well, then you're not the guy I was thinking about, but... Yeah, I never remembered anybody named Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh, you're banned for being a computer, dude. That's not something I can help you with. You've been labeled as a computer. That's why you can't challenge me, dude. So you're not the person that I thought you were. There was another Gilgamesh type name, but no, you can't play anybody. I guess I don't know. You have to talk to administrators on lichess about your status there. That's not something I can help you with. SXPG, that doesn't have to do with me, that has to do with lichess. So let's play somebody else here. What am I doing? Oh. Alright. I thought it was this guy who was like challenging me the other day, and he just kept challenging me and challenging me. Well, it's not anything to do with me, Gilgamesh, but that's not something I can do anything about. I'm not working for lichess, so... Whoops. Alright, number 7. But I don't, Orbitich will be added to the next queue. Fuzzmaster 5+3. I'm not the judge and executioner here at lichess. I just play by the rules. Alright. I got you confused with someone else, though. That's very annoying, though, when people do that. They, like, challenge me, and then I'll be like, decline the challenge. Then they challenge me again. Then I'll decline the challenge. Then they, like, okay, that's where I start to get mad. And then, like, when you do it the third time, I'll just, like, go to your account and block you, because you're obviously just, like, rude. Probably, like, the first 2 times is totally okay. But if you challenge me, like, a third time consecutively, then I get mad and start to block people. You seem legit, man. But I mean, there are innocent people in jail. It's a fact of life, so there's a chance that he didn't do it. Alright, Fuzzmaster, I like your move order. You're playing like Kovalenko played against me. You gotta be willing to play, although I don't like d6. It's more accurate to play knight c6. You don't have to play d6 here. Letting me get in d4 isn't necessary. Chromecast, and I can't see it now. What is a Chromecast? I'm kind of out of date. This is a very peculiar order of moves by black. But I don't really like taking on c6, so it doesn't leave me with a lot of options. I mean, I could play like bishop e3, but that's a weird move. It's a peculiarly annoying order of moves, like forcing me to play knight c2. Fuzzmaster. Another 5+3 game. Today's Wednesday, and normally I do like Weird Wednesday, but I play unusual openings on that day. But I only have like a couple streams before we take a break for a week, and I move to the US for a couple months, so I figured we'll just play straight up today. No weird Wednesday, just regular blitz. Fuzzmaster. Can play b3. I kind of like his setup. I mean, it's again like a very specific order of moves, but it forces me to play knight c2, which is a setup that I don't normally play. This retreating move, and so I'm a little confused here, honestly, having not really played this exact position before. I just logged into the other. I was cheating, but 1.5 years ago. Oh my god. d5. Does that work? See, the problem is that this knight on c2 is protecting my rook on a1. So you're actually not going to get the whole rook and nothing but the rook. So help you God. You're only going to get half a rook, basically. You're going to cut off my toe, but I'm going to cut off your hand when you cut off my toe, you know. So it's kind of like you're not really getting full value for that piece you sacrificed on d5. One thing I really strongly recommend you guys, like if you're playing a master, you know, if you think like you have a tactic that wins a piece or something, or the other guy is making what looks like an overt mistake, strong players don't often make like really big blunders. So think twice before, like, you know, taking candy from strangers, so to speak. I'm not, you know, in the habit of giving away free pieces, and so when he's thinking about like he has d5, he needs to think a little bit longer here. Now, at the end of the day, it looks like he might have some tricks here. This may not be so one-sided. I'm not sure, really. It's a little hard for me to coordinate with my knight on a1. This is notoriously the worst possible position for a knight. Anybody who plays like chess 960, force the TV to 16.9. I can't see it. See row 1. Actually, let me yeah, you're right. Actually, let me make the stream different. Let me change the size of the board, is what I'm trying to say. The board's a little too big. Thank you for pointing that out. Again, it's like my first stream in 10 days. So, I haven't used this machine for a while. Hey, just say, hey man, I can't see the first row. Now I understand. Alright, yeah, just like forget about Gilgamesh and his story about being a computer or not. It really doesn't have any bearing on what we're doing here today. Now I'm just gonna take this 2 pieces and go to the bank, basically. 2 pieces for a rook. It should be a technical win for white. We got to get the knight off of a1. We're just up a clear 2 pieces for a rook. Just leave Gilgamesh alone now. You know, he's not hurting anybody. He just he even admitted he used the computer. So don't punish him anymore. Not necessary to like publicly humiliate people. But he has to address his issues with the lichess administrators, not with me. Anyway, I'm done with that subject now, as everyone else should be. So guys, listen, I'm going to be streaming tomorrow, and definitely Sunday I'll have a simul, probably definitely like 90%. Simul on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. CEST. And yeah, it's better now, Magneto Head. No, I didn't understand like what you were saying at first, to be perfectly honest. I thought you were just talking about something about you know, your machine, and then like I realized you're talking about the first rank, and I had the letters up there. The first game I lost on time. I'm not used to the 3-second increment. I was just playing in a serious tournament with long time controls and 30-second increments, and although we were winning in the first game, I just let my flag fall here. Probably because I've been playing with 30-second increments like the last 9 days, long games, so I'm just kind of like used to having like 30 seconds per move at this point. How did I do my tournament? Unfortunately, I had 50% going into the last round and lost the last round. So it was a disappointment. I lost one of the weaker players in the last round, 22-85, which kind of ruined the tournament. Because other than that, I thought the other 8 games were okay. But this game was like a travesty because basically I had the winning position like after 13 moves, failed to play the win. Then I like played horribly, and then I had a draw, and I didn't execute like a simple blockade, forced fortress draw at the end. I managed to find a way to lose an almost virtually unlosable position. It was really weird. Really, really strange. I just played afternoons every day for like 9 days in a row, and suddenly yesterday morning we had to play in the morning, and why don't I just play b4 here? Is there any kind of trick? I mean, isn't this just like winning a pawn? So, yeah, I just really like ruined my tournament with the last round, and a totally unnecessary loss with white against one of the lowest rated players. I was pretty upset about it, and looking at the game afterwards didn't make me feel any better because like I had a simple forced win on move 13. I just didn't even like. I almost instantly played the wrong move. It's just not playing the same time every day. I'm like a creature of habit, so I don't really adjust well to changes in my environment. You know, like playing 30-second increments for 9 days, then coming here and playing, you know, the blitz with 3-second increments. I just flagged. Like I have to. It takes me time to adjust. I like having time, you know, and I like taking my time and playing slowly. But yesterday I got into really, really bad time pressure because I had a bad position, and I was slightly worse. I was also really pessimistic. Even before I was worse, I felt like I was worse when I wasn't really worse yet. That's not a good sign. That means that something's not right. This is a weird move. Alright. Whatever. Fuzzmaster. Whatever you want to do, man. It's okay with me. Eventually I'm going to make progress here. Are you going to make a planning in the middle game video? I would like to do that, Richie. And if you keep reminding me, it's almost certain that I will. But be patient, please. Because I've been a little bit busy with tournaments and moving but it's something that I really, really want to do. This is undeniably lost for black. Now he has a threat. It's funny that Fuzzmaster is kind of finding resources. I thought I lost on time again. I don't have any sound turned on, so it's always like weird. when the game just ends suddenly, I don't even realize like who's winning. Speaking of reminding, how about that tournament? Yes, Blue Crow. Like a players, yeah. I mean, a tournament here with the players, with the users. I mean, viewers. It's a great idea. I want to do it. You guys have to be like forceful with me though, because I'm kind of like a big procrastinator, you know. So keep reminding me, and it's almost certain that I'll do it. We've got 8 challenges. If you guys want to challenge me, just make sure it's a casual challenge between 5+3 and 8+3. SXPG, Lousy Dirty Cheater, a Yes Day, Cosine. There's a guy who's like unrated, but he's got blitz games, so that's cool. Orbitich, Gilgamesh, Blue Crow. So I've got also Chess 960 if you want is okay. Challenge number 2, Lousy Dirty Cheater, 8+3. My opening repertoire still isn't in repair. I got confused a little bit, and I got caught in a line that I don't really know well enough yesterday in the English. But my opponent, I actually landed on my feet, and in a sort of reverse Sicilian. He prepared for me, but I landed on my feet. I found an original plan, and the opening was fine in my game yesterday, but I'll show you guys in my study for that Balaton tournament. I'll put the game up later. Opening was interesting, and actually I came up with a kind of original idea, but then like when I missed the winning move, I just like lost my advantage and slowly just got kind of frustrated because I realized I didn't have anything, and then I started to play badly and get in time pressure, and it was bad. Insomnia-ridden USA folks. At this time, it's hard to get viewers. Silverback Gorilla. Well, I'm moving to the U.S. in a few days, in 6 days, and we'll be streaming from the U.S. starting July, like, I don't know what I said, the 1st. I'll be streaming from the U.S. like maybe July 2nd, even a simul. I would think that would be the first real possibility. Again, streaming here tomorrow, Friday maybe, Sunday definitely, maybe, and Lousy Dirty Cheater wanted to share something. Sharing is good. A6 and B5 is an interesting idea. I don't think that you can just sack that pawn, but maybe that's playable. Now I wonder about this like Benko style here. It's probably marginal, but maybe interesting. He wanted to share something, but he didn't get to. You know, lichess restricts the amount of characters you can type like in one block, which is kind of annoying sometimes. I don't understand why that is. By the way, I've not had your video stream running at all while playing. Oh, and I will. Well, it may be distracting to you, you know. Years ago when I used to watch Roman Gingiashvili play blitz, and I would sit next to him when he was my sort of trainer. Like, it's never good when the other guy like makes suggestions. Like, if I ever made a suggestion, it only usually like messed him up or something, you know. So I think it can be a situation of like too many cooks spoil the soup. You know, listening to me while you actually play the game may disrupt your concentration, is what I'm trying to say. It's notoriously hard to play like consultation games because people have different ways of perceiving chess. It's very hard for two people, you know, to connect, you know, and listening to me may not be always a good thing if you're actually playing the game. So I would reserve myself to just, hey Roman, you're hanging your queen, you know, kind of thing. Otherwise, like it would mess him up, you know, if I made any suggestions while he was playing. And I'm sure it would be the same way, you know, with people like listening to my stream. But I don't mind, like either way you want to do it. You know, it's not like I consider it cheating, you know, I don't care if you want to listen to me while you play. B6, this is kind of original. Looks like black's very far behind in development here. But it's not that easy to come up with something. The temptation is to play bishop f4, but he has e5. Knight b5 is out, so I mean I'm running out of ideas here. You know, this looks like a very aggressive move, exploiting his lack of development. But I might have to give up the dark square bishop, Sicilian style. We just pull the trigger here on bishop takes f6. We could play kind of positionally. Black is an interesting setup, though. It may be playable. Rook c1, knight takes d4, bishop takes b7, or rook c1, knight takes d4, queen takes d4. I kind of feel like I should take on f6 here. Having said A, I don't really have a choice. And then we play rook c1, I guess. But it's playable for black. This is pretty abstract and risky kind of pawn structure, and his king isn't real safe, like long term. But I also like to play with doubled f pawns, and it's just that it can be difficult to situate your king. Well, in Hearthstone, you can't see their hand until you watch their stream. Chess, everything is on the board. That is true. It's like poker. You know, it's everything is on the board. That's true, but everything is not on the board. You know, a lot of it is. You know, we see differently. You know, we perceive the board differently. We perceive the squares differently. It is, the information is available, but it's a question of your tools for perceiving it. You listened to you on your last simul. You gave me lots of advice on my moves. Of course, it's meant to be informational. This is not a competitive. I mean, it's sort of competitive, but it's not. That's not the main point. You know, I mean, I'm trying to teach people to play better chess, and I'm trying to help myself to get better at chess. Now, bishop takes b7, knight takes e2 check wins a pawn for black. So, now I don't see that being a good idea. He avoided a very important trick here. I mean, I was probably threatening to play knight to d5 in this position. Like, really, why can't I draw an arrow? So this was a pretty big threat. You know, if black makes a routine move there, I think it's curtains, you know, for black. I mean, positionally. So he almost had to play knight takes d4 in this game. Now his f6 is hanging. But it's probably not that bad for black, this position. His structure's a little bit worse. Now I can try to win a pawn with queen takes f6, but I'm actually not real sold on it. I mean, queen takes f6, bishop takes f1, queen takes h8, bishop takes e2, queen takes h7. Am I crazy? Feels like I should just recapture. I mean, queen takes f6, bishop takes f1, queen takes h8, bishop takes e2. It's very confusing. I just feel like this, you know, gives me better control of the position. He still has the long-term weaknesses here. So, you know, maybe he just can't really protect properly f6. I have the threat of knight e4. I feel like I just keep, you know, my development advantage, and he has like structural problem. If I play queen takes f6, like all hell breaks loose here, and it gets to be very tactical and confusing. Maybe even the position opens better for his bishop. His bishop is trapped if he takes your rook. His bishop is trapped. Not really. I mean, he can always go back to h3. Oh, I see. Okay, so bishop takes f1. Bishop takes g2, queen takes f6, bishop takes f1, queen takes h8. Yeah, his bishop is trapped, right, but I'm down a piece, so it's okay that his bishop's trapped. I mean, he's going to give it up. It's just a matter of how much he can get for it, and I think at the end of the day, it would have been like, maybe he loses a pawn, but my c4 pawn might be hanging, and his bishop is a pretty good piece, so I don't know. You know, maybe that was good for me. But it's kind of complicated. And this way I just felt like, I'm sure that I'm better here. You know, there's... I'm not sure that I'm better here. It may be the case that I should have done that, but we shall see. We can tie him down. You know, he doesn't really want to play d6. He's tied down to this. Yeah, I mean, it's very possible queen takes f6 was better. But it's a long variation to calculate. Yeah, but if I take on h7, I think that this viewer was saying that, like, maybe the bishop's still trapped, you know. h5 is a good move. I don't, you know, I'm playing like Petrosian here. I don't want any calculation. I'm just playing on positional basis. Knight e4 and knight d6 check. All my pieces are playing, but Lousy Dirty Cheater is pretty active, you know, so I think he's okay here. I don't really like his position, but it's not lost. I think it's harder to play black, and he has an inferior structure, so he's going to be like slightly worse than a rook ending or something. That's probably the best he can do. The what? You're kind of overthinking considering you're playing 1800 player. Dude, if you don't think like, that's how you get weaker, you know what I mean? The point isn't to win, man. I'm trying to play the best moves I can. This is not about like trying to beat 1800s. Like, this is about like trying to understand chess, you know? It's a different thing. If you don't think, you get weaker. If you don't force yourself to put the maximum into the game. I mean, I just played like 9 games against 2400 players in FIDE rating, you know? I mean, that's real chess, and you have to do a lot of thinking. If you play on autopilot, you're just going to get weaker and weaker. I guarantee it. It's the easiest way to get worse at chess. Not to treat your opponents like they're Kasparov or Magnus Carlsen. It absolutely makes you play worse and worse. You have to treat everyone with absolute respect, like they are a 2700 player. If you do not, you know, you're just you're gonna play worse and worse. Are you gonna follow Yasser's commentary? No, I've got a lot of stuff to do. I have tons of, as I said, like, I'm not doing, like, Twitch, like, you know, for a living, so, I have to teach a lot of lessons and stuff like that. So, unfortunately, I would like to, you know, follow chess 24 hours a day, but Lousy Dirty Cheater just dropped his whole position, basically, with this crazy move, d5. You know, he can play rook g6 here, or even f5. So d5, just a totally unforced error, and now black is just totally lost, like in one move. Unforced errors, like in tennis. How about the viewer tournament? Yeah, we definitely want to do a viewer tournament. The question is when. would be optimal. Maybe we should take a survey here on Twitch. Would it be better like on a Sunday instead of a simul? What do you guys think? To replace like 1 week the simul with a viewer tournament? How does that sound? I'm going to be switching time zones to USA Eastern Time. I'm not really sure like if I played this the best, but I think that it's good enough. Instead of slow Monday. Yeah, sure. We can do that. Lousy Dirty Cheater, I mean, if we go back to this position, I think that, you know, I mean, you could look at the whole game with the computer analysis, but I think, you know, it's playable what you did. It's a little unorthodox. There's a few games here. Very old game from '79, Fed against Plachetka. Not too many games. I mean, and now we transpose to a real variation. Apparently, White has a huge score here. Gelfand Pansulaya. Pansulaya plays some interesting stuff sometimes. Yeah, B6 is a novelty. It actually loses, apparently. Wow. That's crazy. I don't understand. Oh my god. So I didn't see this. Bishop F4 E5, and then I just take on E5. Wow. That's brutal. I didn't appreciate this, you know. I mean, I think that even subconsciously I might have considered some possibilities, but I'm actually like only winning a pawn, it looks like. But his position is so decimated, like strategically. It's so decimated strategically that the computer is like plus 2.6. Jeez. So B6 is bad. But when I don't exploit that, he suddenly gets a playable position again. Bishop G5 is bad, so I had to play Bishop F4. Okay. Good to know. What is that? I offered a free lesson? What are you talking about there? Alright, where are we at here? We've got 9 challengers. 9 challengers. I'm going to take one at random. You guys, let me know who I offered a free lesson to and why. Alright, we got plus 9. Yeah, I didn't see this line. I mean, I would in a tournament game. But that theme, to be honest, I've never seen before. We normally think of things in terms of themes, combinational themes, especially in the opening. I've never seen a hedgehog type of situation where I could actually play like Bishop F4 and Knight takes C6 or Bishop takes E5. I've never seen that happen before. It makes sense, though. I've seen combinations where I go like Bishop F4, they play E5, and then I have like Knight takes C6, but I've never seen this version where I can do like Bishop takes E5 there. He's the best streamer. Best streamer of what game? So anyway, where are we here? Challenge number 3. Cosine 180. He's a tough player. Wow, he's 2383. Alright, I'm getting white every game. Is that normal? Like, why do I have white every game? It's like 3 games in a row. I guess it's just a coincidence. Like, against these particular players, I was due to play them with white, or they were due to play with black. Well, I'm going to stick to my repertoire. I don't really know enough theory now to play E4 responsibly. So... Oh, he streams chess. I don't know, I guess you're being a nice guy, offering him a free lesson. Yeah, that's interesting. It must have been when I was having some sort of delusional multiple personality disorder or something. Basically, I remember most things that I do. There were years ago when I used to drink too much, and I might have had some kind of drunken stupor, but in recent times I've been pretty well behaved, so not too many blackouts in the last year or two. I pretty much remember everything that I do, fortunately. All right, here we're gonna transpose to a Panov. I was actually preparing this line for black, and this was what I was gonna play. So bishop g7 is kind of a risky continuation. I mean, the safest bet for black here is my move, knight f6. But I was gonna play bishop g7 against Junta Ikeda, who won the GM tournament I just played in. This is a bad move. C takes d. Cosine. I mean, I really think you need to play d6 there. I don't think that there's anything else. This is basically the only move for black here, and it's very risky. After d5, you can play either knight a5 or knight e5, and they're both pretty weird, you know. I don't really trust it for black, but I was gonna play it for a win. But I think that c takes d is just bad for black. I think this just leaves you with an inferior position. I mean, you can play this, but I don't think that it's correct. It's not like you're lost by force, but you just don't really have a very dynamic situation. The knight is kind of misplaced on c6. It's constantly getting hit by d5. And now white can play a number of moves, d5 or h3. I think they're both good. It's a matter of taste, I guess. h3 also good. Thank you guys for joining me. We have a good viewership today. How do I remember all lines? I don't remember all lines, man. I mean, you should see like some of the best players, how much they know. It's just like astounding. Like what I know is nothing compared to like some top player in the top 50 in the world. I mean, it's just, you wouldn't even believe it, you know, how much those people know and remember. I mean, I'm really not that. I have a lot of experience, like 30 years of tournaments, although I wasn't very an active poker pro. I was actually playing poker like for the last 6 years until 2016. Between 2009 and 2016, I hardly played at all. So I say that I played chess for 30 years, but it's not really true, because like for basically like the last 5 years prior to 2016, I didn't play almost any chess. So I often say 30 years, but the truth is that I really only played for like 25, because I kind of took 5 years off. But still, it's a long time, and I have a lot of practical experience. I just played a tournament where I won a game, and I literally like looked it up after the game, and I found out that I had played another game in 2004 in the exact same line, and I completely forgot about it. Like, it just was erased, like expunged from my mind. It wasn't really an important game, although it was a reasonably strong player. You know, so I'm getting to the point where I have so many games that I've played that I literally am starting to forget them. This is like over 10 years ago. It's a lot of information to remember, you know, so it happened very gradually though. You learn to increase the amount of, you know, space you have for memorizing variations and stuff. Jabber says, what's the best way to improve for a noob? Yeah, the tactics are really important. I mean, everyone has to be very competent in you know, combinations and seeing like exchanges and tactics and sacrifices and stuff like that. But I think that you need a strategical basis, like a set of very, very concrete rules that you play by. You know, so when I teach, like, I really focus on strategy more than tactics. You know, I think that tactics is like an extra. Some people play purely for tactics, but I don't think that's like I don't really think that's the most beneficial, thing you can do. I think tactics are an essential part of the game, but if you want to improve, you really have to improve your strategic understanding. It's not easy. It takes a long time. I mean, it's the internet age, and I know there's a lot of videos that can help you on various sites. But I think that's a good place to start. Watching videos about chess strategy rather than just thinking about tactics. I mean, of course, like books are better than videos because they contain more information. Videos are easy for lazy people to watch, but I think that still, like, even here in the 21st century, probably the best way to improve is still studying chess books, or the equivalent of chess books if you want to have a PDF or whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a paper book, but still, I think that's where the most information is contained. And I also recommend, this is very important, studying games of great players in their entirety, preferably ones that have been played and annotated or analyzed by those players themselves. So you get a book or a PDF or whatever, or just a chess-based program or whatever. Like, you can analyze games that are actually notated by the players themselves, or at least like by a really strong player. I think that analyzing complete games of chess is the single best way you can improve your game. It doesn't matter if it's a game from 100 years ago or a game from last week, from some top player like Magnus Carlsen, or if it's from, Steinitz 100 years ago. This is really essential. Seeing masters play chess and understanding what they're doing, that I think is the single most valuable thing. Anyway, what are we doing here? Cosine is going to hold on to that bishop, and he's got kind of an outpost on the e5 square. The e5 square. Alright, you know what? Screw the e5 square. I'm gonna not let you have it. I'm not gonna screw it. I'm just gonna not let you control e5. I just put the bishop on h6. It was just temporary. He's paralyzed here a little bit, like this is very unpleasant. This backwardness he's suffering from along this line. King Prussia analyzes a lot of master games. Yeah, I mean, he's an old school player, He's not a strong player, but he's good, and he understands a lot of his game. King Prussia, like, he appreciates old school master chess, which is same as me. Bishop now. Should we go back to f1 or should we keep it here? It's actually not doing a whole lot. It's not doing a whole lot on c2. I mean, it looks active, attacking this diagonal, but that's a rock, on g6, so I'm saying too much. I've got to stop that, but just remind me if I start repeating the same phrase again and again. Cosine has Cosine has no space here. I like a4 though. Looks like he's setting up a3. Accelerated dragon style. I might have missed the better move. When I played bishop f4, maybe I could have played bishop e3 and played like bishop d4 and traded off his dark square bishop on h8. Anyway, he's playing quickly. Knight d4 was my original plan. Kind of like it still. Now I'm losing e5. This is going to be a really tough game. It's not going to be resolved. Wow, I really like the way Black's playing this. He's taking a bad position, but playing it very tough. I don't like his game out of the box, but he's got some ideas. I mean, I think that knight d4, my choice here was probably not optimal. I should probably just move my a rook to b1 or d1, which was my original plan, or c1 actually. I'm not sure which square. Knight d4 was kind of a lazy move. This is probably a small mistake. Yeah, well, one thing you've got to learn to do, I strongly recommend it, is admitting your mistakes. A lot of people have a hang-up about this. It's a stubborn personality thing. Like when you know, people that refuse to admit they made a mistake, very argumentative type of people, tend to do that. But I think, you know, here we're admitting we made a mistake, and it's half the battle, right? You admit you make a mistake, and you go back and you correct your mistake. So I had to get his knight off of there, you know, and I'm just gonna play to get him off. We've got a lot of space now. We've taken away the square. He's gonna play knight b6 now. He doesn't have a3, this lever. We've got a lot of challenges, but I'm choosing challengers at random. This is a new policy. Not completely new. We started this last week. Why is that yellow? Get those colors off of there. Why do I have this color there? Alright, color go away. Studying master games, man. I mean, that's the best way anybody can improve at this game. Why am I growling? I'm not really sure. Why don't I play b4? You take queen b4. Stubborn player, cosine 180 is. If I play like bishop f2, this is just so weird. I should be better here, but it's tough. I don't really know what to do. Bishop f2 leaves my queen unprotected. b4. I think we can roll with the pawns. Just take with the pawn. If he tries to play queen b4, we just play like knight c2. Actually, life is not so simple. He seems to have ideas here. I don't really know who this player is. He's played me a number of games. Seems to be pretty solid at classical chess. Not so high rated in the other categories. Which master games did you learn the most from? I have a lot of influences. It's just like not really. I think that Karpov actually had the greatest influence on me. But I mean, there have been many. Many famous players. Not so much modern players. I'm not really into like, I'm not that into, I like to watch like some live tournaments, but I'm not into like modern players that much. You know, I learned a lot from old players. Now he retreated passively here. I felt queen b4 would have been like the most thematic move, and I wasn't really sure. He's got some control of e4, which is a little bit disturbing. But after this retreat, bishop f2, clearing the control of e4, it seems to me like queen c7 is too passive. You know, he's drifted a little bit passive now. We've got b4 and knight b5. So black is in a kind of bad way, I would think, after b4. It's going to be completely pushed back. What I don't want to do is let him trade pieces, I think. We might be able to trap the knight on a4. That happens in the Petrosian King's Indian sometimes. He gave up his bishop. I didn't expect it. It's kind of a long-term concession, but it's also... It may simply be a very practical move. This, what I call the trash compactor, might be something to think about. If we just go for a straight up trash compactor with like rook d1 and rook c1, looks like a realistic try. No, not a good idea. Now it's going to be unclear. This was a blunder. He missed it. Could have played knight e4 there. I was talking about admitting your mistakes earlier. Maybe this is a good spot as any to admit my mistake. I just let him into e4 and I wasn't really focusing. Yeah. Anatoly Karpov wouldn't claim to be Anatoly Karpov, I can assure you of that. Not a really... we have a lot of space now. Let's neutralize black a little bit. But Karpov got really weak. He got into politics. He's not even that old. I mean, he's probably like in his mid-60s. And like, I don't know how old he is. But he's just horrible. Like, he plays like exhibitions and loses to 2,400 players. I mean, he just isn't the player he was. He got old too quickly. Man, cosine, you play fast. I'm used to 30-second increments. I'm trying to trap his knight on a4, but get some coordination going on. He decided to give up his white square bishop. I didn't really like that move for black. Although it was playable, I didn't think he had to make that concession. Okay, my bishop is not great on f1, but it's a hell of a defender in this position, any position. Now we've got some questions to answer. The knight on a4 is the only real problem. He has a slight spatial disadvantage, but the main problem is the knight on a4. Oh, I'm just taking. I'm not taking, I was hallucinating. Okay, that's good. Knight on g8 tends to protect things. This trash compactor theme never really came into play. Everything is working. We just eat this pawn, I guess? Then re-centralize. Cosine is fast. You'd think he was a blitz specialist. He did mobilize. He did mobilize to some degree, but I think it's not enough. Still, it's... I don't really know how to finish him off here. Now I know. I think he had, I was hallucinating, he had like rook a8 or something. Alright. Yeah, I mean, I think that he played pretty well, but this missing knight e4 was his big opportunity. He had no space. You know, he has to move the pieces back at some point. This is the way the game goes. All right, we've got time for some more challenges here. 8 challengers. I'm sorry that everyone won't get to play, but that's the way it's gonna go. So everyone gets a chance at some point, but there may be a time when you challenge and you don't play that day. I mean, it's just the way it works. So we're gonna play x6 239. No, in the future, I mean, I might do the challenges like alternating. Like one day I'll just take the challenges in order, and next day I'll do you know, I'll do this where we randomize them. I mean, Ayeste's complaining about the system, but in the days when we polled people about it, like most of the people, like the vast majority, thought the random challenges were more fair. So, you know, that's all the information I had to go on. But I'll rethink it, you know. So maybe we'll mix it up so that, you know, some days the challenges will be in order and some days they'll be randomized. x6 239, playing bishop c4 against the Sicilian. It's kind of an irritating system. What's that? Is there any setup against the English already you can recommend to a Grunfeld player? Well, I mean, the Grunfeld players tend to play like anti-Grunfeld, so knight f3, knight f6, c4, how does this go now? Yeah, g6, and if knight c3, d5, or like c4, knight f6, knight c3, d5. So basically, you know, you wait for white to play knight c3 at some point, and then you play d5. It's like a Grunfeld, just that white hasn't played d4. It's the neo-Grunfeld. Some Grunfeld players, like Sergei Kudrin, I always was afraid to play a Grunfeld against him, so I would always avoid it. When I was playing Sergei, we had some games where he plays like the symmetrical English. Grunfeld players sometimes play c5 against the English, for example, like c4. Sergei would play like knight f6 and then like c5 sometimes. But you can even get into Grunfeld by symmetrical English move orders too. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, okay, cosine, that move order, yeah, I mean, that move order you played is more designed for people like me who play Accelerated Dragon or Panov. I mean, basically, you gotta play a Panov or some kind of Accelerated Dragon. Yeah, g6 on move 1 and c5. How did you play it? Oh, knight c6 early. I mean, what you play cosine is okay, but you just shouldn't do c takes d. That gives white the upper hand. I was going to play that system too. It's a very risky system for black, but it's interesting. You know, and there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on in those lines. Fischer played it. But d6 without c takes d. You must have joined the maximum rather, but the maximum number has been reached. You think the best solution 1 week random, 1 week in order? That's another possibility, although I would think I mean my intention was like to switch day by day. You know, so I have like 1 or 2 days where it's random and 1 or 2 days where it's you lose a piece here, x6 239. It'd be a little more interesting if I wasn't castled already. You got to be more careful about your minor pieces getting pawn forked. Yeah, I think I'll. You know, you're the first person I asked to really complain about it. You know, so we'll take it into consideration. I was toying around with alternating. You know, so I think in my heart of hearts, that's what I want to do. Rather than doing always randomizing challenges. But I don't want people to like reserve the places. That was the point, you know. So it's not always the same 10 players every day. It's just not really fair as well. Still nothing. What are you talking about? They can let one more viewer in. What are you talking about? There should be, you know, sometimes we have 100 viewers. You should be able to view it. No problem. The maximum number has been reached. I don't think there's a maximum number. With my simul streams on Sunday, sometimes I have over 100 viewers. This Sunday I'll probably do a simul 6:30 CET for 25 players. CEST, Central European Summertime, 6:30 p.m. We're going to try to do one last simul before I move to the US next week for a couple months. And then the simul, all the streams will be switching to like an Eastern Time USA base for July and August. I'm going to be doing them USA time. So USA Eastern Time, New York time, in other words. And we were talking about this before the stream started. I think maybe late morning, early afternoon USA time. I'm thinking late, maybe afternoon, 3:30 New York time. So people here in the evening at 9:30 could watch. In Europe would be cool. Now what do? Give him triple pawns and be a piece up. I can play bishop g4. Actually, that looks good. Developing a piece. Never a bad idea. He might have some tactics though. This may have been inaccurate. He still has knight d5. Yeah, you turned him off and I'm in. Yeah, no, there shouldn't be any maximum. Believe me, I'd like to have 200 viewers. We'd like to set a record for my stream. I think the record is like 110, 113. 2507 is my rating. Rating points. Try not to think about it too much. Maybe I focus too much on you know, FIDE ratings. Here, it's a bit awkward. I didn't really want to allow this. Now he's got a little bit of compensation. I mean, 2 pawns for a piece shouldn't really be enough, but I was a little bit careless there. I was joking about triple pawns, but it probably was my best move. I mean, if I just play like bishop takes c3 and trade queens, I mean, I can literally play bishop takes c3, b takes c, queen takes d1, rook takes d1, bishop g4, and I think that it's just lost for white. You know, his pawn structure is decimated, and he's only got doubled pawns for a piece. This gives him a lot of play. This was a very bad idea. Arsenal fan Richie says he has 78 fake accounts. I think you're joking. Yeah, Sheppy, your move bishop e6 is even probably better than bishop g4. I was thinking about trading another piece, but maybe, yeah, maybe even bishop c4. This gives him quite a bit of counterplay. Very careless of me. I think I'm still winning, but you know, it's important to be accurate. Someone else earlier was like, why are you, you know, thinking so hard against an 1800? You know, because my opponent could easily be like a 2400. And then if I get in the habit of being lazy, you know, which I already am, that's where problems begin. My game yesterday, I played very, very lazily. Now he fixes his pawn structure, and we can probably break his king side. you know, so it's going to be lost for white anyway. We'll pin him with 95. The extra 2 pawns, they don't really count here too much. Because he's going to get checkmated before they... Hopefully white is going to get checkmated here before those pawns come down. Long before these pawns score touchdowns. White's king should get chopped up pretty good. Anyway, guys, welcome. We will be streaming for another 35 minutes here. Enough time for a couple more games. And be back tomorrow morning. Tomorrow is Thursday, right? Tomorrow morning, more Blitz and Classical Chess. And then maybe Friday, I'm not sure. I have some stuff I have to do because I'm moving for 2 months. But we might be able to do a stream on Friday. I'm not really certain. I think I have a lot of stuff to do, but I'm thinking about it. And Sunday is definite. We're going to do a simul. 95% definite Sunday night. So, you know, don't cancel your romantic evening with your partner, but if you have nothing to do Sunday night, it would be my pleasure to have you guys play in my simul here on lichess. So, pin it and win it, or we play for mate. I don't know. The nice thing about playing for mate here is that the bishop also blockades the square d7. You know, so I was thinking bishop h5, but I think it's key to keep this pawn immobilized. This guy's not going to come down and get through d7, and white is lost. C4 doesn't really matter too much. You know, I've got just to worry about this passed d pawn, and that's pretty much it. Bishop g5 looks pretty nasty here. Bishop h6, that is. How do I get in there? Buy myself some time and get the queen to g5. I'm not sure he can defend. Yeah, he has some defense. Did I have another square? Not really a great square. Lucky this isn't like losing. Now it's going to take some time to make progress, but I think we should eventually break through. Still got a good blockade over d7, and I just overlooked f4, but it doesn't really save his position. He's still down a piece. He still has a weak king. Just kind of temporarily. He's temporarily hanging on. My bishop is, you know, could get trapped, true enough. But I mean, if he trades queens or something, like queen d3, it should be over. And this is mate. Overlook back rank. Back rank special. Queen is nice on f5. Thank you for the game, and thank you for the game, everybody. Everybody has a right to vote. Random just reminds me now how it looks on Chess 24. Firefox. We live in a democracy. Huh. Alright, let's not get into the politics, guys. This is not the place for that. I mean, I don't think that there's, like, you know, anywhere there's a perfect democracy for sure. But it's a nice idealistic system. Alright. Let's see what we got here. Number 2. Or Biddich. 5 plus 3. Alright. Orbich has been waiting patiently, and he finally gets his challenge. I guess I wasn't so lucky. Alright. Orbitic has a Serbian-sounding name, but he's from the United States. It may be made up, though. I mean, Orbitic. I don't know. It's not a real... It just has a CS. I always think it's like... Serbian. I have no idea what his name really means. So knight f3, b6. You know, while b6 I think is very risky against e4, against knight f3 it's actually more playable. And like even b5, I won a game once against Shandor Kushtar, who now lives in like South Dakota or something, or Montana. International Master Shandor Kushtar. He's a very solid player, and he played knight f3, and I played b5 to kind of mess with him, and it worked, and he lost. This is a guy who's really tough to beat. He's like a 2400 IM with an extremely solid style. So, I mean, b5 is even more dynamic than b6. Against Tomasz Gelashvili, I had a game that went like g3, knight f6, and he played b5. That really disturbed me. You know, facing your own idea is sometimes very painful. But anyway, here, I guess theoretically e4 is probably the best move. Actually, I mean, I don't know. I have played this sometimes. Owen defense with the knight on f3 is not the most sharp, like, variation at white's disposal, but it's probably still theoretically white's best move to play e4. But I'm you know, I don't have the options to play the most aggressive system against the Owen defense, which is to like delay the knight to f3 and play bishop d3 and queen e2. That's considered by theory to be white's best, and here I don't have that option. Now this follows a game I had with Alexander Ivanov once, who was very briefly messing around with the Owen's defense, and we had this line. Arsenal fan, you've been here all day. Why are you saying hi, Slaggy? Oh, who is the Bill? Okay, that's me. Lord Ulrich, thanks for coming. Bill, a lot of people don't realize if they're from Europe. You know, my name is William, but a lot of Europeans don't realize that Bill is like a short form of William. So that's how you know, now you know. Now hold on a second here. I'm trying to recall this game I had with Ivanov. It must have been queen e2. You know, you could play e5 here. Yeah, this is the game. It was like queen e2. I can tell you what the moves were. I had a tense game with Alexander where, I don't know, I tried, but eventually it was like balanced. And now there's two continuations, but I like this better. This was our game. Bishop d3, knight e2. Don't know about that. That sounds interesting. So this is my game with Alexander Ivanov from like the Massachusetts Championship in 2003 or something. It was a draw, but I was a little bit better. I feel like white stands a little bit better here. White, you know, study the games of Alexander Alekhine. I don't know what else to tell you. The pieces just, you know, go out to aggressive squares and you do things to attack black. I mean, it just looks like this is a good attacking position for white. As I was talking about earlier, I highly recommend studying master games. And, well, Alekhine would be one of them. Recommended players to study, but especially, you know, if you play both e4 and d4. Here's a guy who played both. He was world champion. You should study all the world champions. I think it's very important. Right, Bill Clinton. Of course, everyone knows Bill Clinton. Everyone knows Bill Cosby because he's like on trial for for sex crimes now. He was a huge television star. So what I was saying was like, Arsenal fan Richie was calling me Bill. You know, in the UK they don't use Bill as much. It's usually like Will or Willie. It's just a cultural thing. We have different nicknames in different English-speaking regions of the world. I never really liked Bill. When I was a little kid, people called me Billy, and it always kind of like was very patronizing. I didn't like it, you know, when people called me Billy. It just felt a very childish name. And later on, like, only people who were patronizing me called me that. Yeah, this is something like my game with Alexander Ivanov. It looks like a classic position. Unfortunately, I'm Paschall, so I don't have any crazy stuff. Like h4, I might have played an h4 against Ivanov. You can try a4 on the queen side. I think that's okay. How to compare this position? It almost feels like a queen pawn game. I'm glad to hear you're an expert, Arsenal fan. But I know at least one Grandmaster, the only Grandmaster from England with the name William, who went by William Watson. But I think it's also a thing that trends over years, you know. Not a lot of people named Richard really use the short form of Dick, you know. Whereas like in the 50s and 60s it was very common. All these sexual connotations about things just like ruin it, you know. I remember my neighbor across the street. I always thought it was very funny that, you know, his name was Dick. But I mean, that was a totally normal name in the 50s and 60s, and then suddenly, haha, it became funny, you know. It's like, funny how time changes stuff. Alright, I'm going to play a4. We'll try to like massage the queen side a little bit here. Anyway, we get on some really weird conversations while we're in the midst of the game. But anyway, it's all good. It's all in good fun. a4, c5. And we, wow, we can break with a5, it looks like. He's going to take the pawn just like that. You can just do that. Just take my pawn. Seriously? I'd like to get a little bit of play here. I wasted a tempo with my rook to e1. Now I'm thinking more about the queen side. Weird conversations. And now he's gone knight f6, which is what we did expect. Is he trying to win a pawn here now? Get out of here, man. a5. Alright, whatever. My bishops have a lot of open lines. We'll just play practically. He can win a pawn here. Wow, I'm so low on time. He's got 2 minutes to my 22 seconds. Need to be penalized. Penalized, timeout. It's completely up to Blue Crow to give people timeouts here. But I feel like I was instigating it. But just call me Slaggy. That's my self-made nickname. Excuse me. H6, I like to see that. I like to see that. Those seconds really run out. I'm just making random pawn moves now. Random rook moves, excuse me. I don't care if he takes a pawn. My bishops will start to really control the board. It's amazingly hard to do anything with white, though, with these doubled pawns that are immobilized. Queen d6, a very practical move. I just almost flagged. I just lost on time. That was 3 seconds, seriously? It took me 3 seconds to move my queen to e5? That was like the fastest 3 seconds I've ever seen. I think black played this game like perfectly. He just like literally played perfectly. Like if we look here, like literally every move was perfect. Here I hesitated. Yeah, like I didn't really have a plan. Okay, I don't care about losing on time. I don't like h6 though. Peter gave him an accuracy for knight f6. That seems absurd to me. But I just had no plan. I don't want to take on b6, but my flag was hanging. So, like in the final position, it's equal, but I just lost on time. Queen e5 is actually the best move. I swear to God, I didn't take 3 seconds to make that move. You know, my flag fell. I had like 3.3 seconds, and there's no way it took me 3 seconds to move my queen to e5. But I just lost on time. Like, there's no way I spent 3 seconds on that move. The fan noises make me feel like watching an old... Yeah, it is a fan. It's very hot here. It's like high 30s. Good game, Orbitich. Another one where I just flag. And then anyway, flagging will make it easier for another player to get to play. So anyway, we've got 5 challenges left. Viewer tournament. Oh, I did something wrong. Alright. Yeah, no, I want to do a viewer tournament. How would you guys prefer it to be, like on a weekday or on a Sunday? Challenge number 3, Sheppy. This will probably be the last game for today. Oh, it sounds like a reel, yeah. It's kind of beat up and it's sort of leaning to the side. It's not a high quality fan. If you guys want to support the stream, allow me to buy a new fan. Feel free to donate via PayPal. I have a PayPal button on my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. You should also check it out if you don't already know about it. Video Chess Training on YouTube. You can donate via PayPal and support the stream. Help me buy a new fan, quieter one. And anyway, guys, check out my YouTube channel. Subscribe and like over there. Also, don't forget to support the stream and my YouTube channel via PayPal. Thanks a lot for those of you who have. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow. This is going to be the last game for today. Also, if anybody's interested in private lessons, I am pretty busy, but I might have room for another student or two. It's not a lot of availability, but you know, I'm constantly having people like quitting and then coming back and then quitting, and so you know, it's like I'm juggling with a lot of students. But if anyone's really interested, you know, if someone's really devoted and very serious about it, you know, I could probably take another student. So let me know if you're really interested in getting better and really committed to the game. You know, I'd be interested in working with someone like that. Knight on g to e2. This is a kind of rare line that actually I had a game in the spring, no, in the late winter against international master Tot Um, Irvin, he's a younger guy, friend of mine, and Irvin played knight in GD2 against me, and I never really thought about it a whole lot. You know, like, really, what's the significance of knight e2 versus other lines? But against Irvin, I started to realize that there are some differences between this and like normal samish lines, like bishop e3 or bishop g5. Not a lot of differences, but there's some. It's actually a Benoni now, not a King's Indian technically, although these openings are really essentially you know, in the same family. So how much is coaching? Just send me an email. You can also check my coaching profile here on lichess if you want to know my rates, and there are coaching profiles here on lichess. But you can also email me directly, videochesstrainer@gmail.com, and you can talk about it. But I really kind of just only have one requirement, that people are really serious about it, you know. Not people who like want to take one lesson and then just like aren't serious. I mean, I don't want to waste time, and I mean, you don't have to sign up for life, but you know, just be really very devoted, and that's cool. Bishop e2. So it's actually, I was talking earlier about the system called the, what is it? Kramer system, where white plays knight ge2 against the King's Indian, and I think it's somewhat related to that. I should play h5 at some point. But as I said, I'm not really trying to make a living by doing Twitch streaming. You know, my main focus is on teaching chess. And sometimes I get to play myself. I still have ambitions. Just had a couple of disappointing tournaments recently. I'm not sure about h5 here. But I guess it makes sense. This guy is like insta-moving. This could be my game with Toth Irvin exactly. I'm having trouble remembering. It was like 4.5, 5 months ago, and it's not in the front of my mind. How did that go again? Did I play Queen A5? I want to think. Did I play Queen A5? I mean, Queen A5 is like normal move, but I'm not always in the habit of doing Queen A5. I don't always like to play Queen A5. It sometimes gets stuck out of play. It's played too dogmatically by a lot of King's Indian players in these type of positions. It simply sometimes like gets out of play. You know, it has trouble communicating with the queen side, but at the same time, it poses some concrete problems for white. You know, there's like the b4 square is weak. The queen can also get trapped on a5. I mean, I also play the same-ish with white against the King's Indian, so I'm very familiar with this type of structure for both sides, actually, not only from black's perspective. But I'm really having trouble with my game with Toth Irvin. I just don't remember what I played. It's really weird. Very weird. Anyway. Alright. I know that I played h4 and he went like knight h1. And I played f5. My knight was on e5. Sheppy played bishop h6, but actually it's not always a good exchange for white, like it would be in just like other positions. You have to be a little careful about it in these kind of lines. I'm not certain that bishop h6 is always great. I have to be careful of tactics, obviously. But I'm very strongly tempted to play bishop h8 here. I can also play bishop d4 check and h4. But Toth Ervin definitely didn't play. Toth Ervin. He definitely didn't play bishop h6. I mean, I can allow the exchange of bishops, and it's not necessarily good for white. Guys, this is the last game for today. Bishop d4 check, he can even go back with bishop e3. I can play h4, knight h1, knight e5. Afraid my h-pawn will drop off there. I don't know. Alright, let's just be aggressive. You know, keep the pieces on the board. See what happens. We have to be creative. It's risky to avoid the exchange of bishops for black, definitely. I could also play queen b4, probably. I was looking at that ending. Queen b4, bishop takes g7, king takes g7, and then trying to play queen d4, but I don't think that... He could play anything there, rook d1. I mean, it seems like white structurally, of course, is better because he has the better pawn chain. As I said, I've played this kind of position for white. In general, when you have less space, you want to avoid exchanging, and you want to exchange pieces. But this is a kind of dynamic position for black. You know, where I had the worst structure. I don't want to just trade pieces into like a slightly worse ending or something. You know, his rating is really up there, man. He's 2360 in standard, and like 2000 in blitz. Must be berserking a lot. That's just too big a differential. I mean, it means that like he must be way underrated in blitz. Is the difference between 1800 and 2000 greater than the difference between 2000 and 2200? I wouldn't think so. I don't know. But I mean, here on lichess, or like in, you mean like international ratings? I would think the higher you go, the more significant it is. You know, those points are harder to get the higher you get. The higher rated you are, the harder it is to gain points. You know, so one would assume that those higher rated differences are more significant. So guys, thanks for joining me. We'll see what happens here. I'm a little bit slow today. Lost a couple games that weren't necessarily losing positions, just getting flagged. As I said, I played tournament games the last 9 days. I'm used to playing a little different tempo of 40 moves in 90 minutes. So I forgot how to play blitz basically over the last week and a half. I haven't played more than a handful of blitz games against really low rated players on lichess maybe a week ago, but I've got to pick up the speed a little bit. Sheppy's like going into the think tank here. I mean, it's very tempting to play f4, but you know, pawns can't move backwards. Once you do that, like all hell is going to break loose. Not a control move. Tournament. Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, in terms of like international or national ratings, I think 2000 is a serious milestone, you know. But there's a world of difference between a 2000 player and a 2200 player. Now Sheppy played queen f4, which is not an unheard of move, but it's very awkward. I don't know what he's doing here. It's like kind of trying to get his queen trapped or something. This certainly can't be a good move for white. I mean, he doesn't really... he doesn't have any threat. I mean, queen takes d6, bishop e5 traps his queen, so... He's just asking for trouble, basically. I have no idea what he's trying to do. Queen b4. But I do need to do something myself, other than just make moves for the sake of making them. He's stopping h4. I mean, I guess that's his point. He has just absolutely no threats with this move. He wants to play queen h4, maybe? And then f4 after that, or... It's, you know, I can make a perpetual with, like, bishop e5, queen h4, bishop f6. Repetition of position, I mean. He is stopping h4. But I think I should just play knight e5. I mean, this is just a natural move. You know, my bishop needs to develop. The plan eventually would be to, you know, play like h4, kick his knight off of g3, and play f5. That's what I did against... That's a normal break, but it's risky. You open your king up. His bishop's on h6. This is not really a normal position for this line. The bishop on h6 makes it kind of unique. Generally, that's not really played. I mean, white has more space, so normally trading pieces with bishop h6 isn't the standard plan. I have seen it on occasion, but generally white like keeps all pieces on the board in these same-ish type of lines. Viewer tourney. So what's the poll? Yeah, what's the best day? Would you guys prefer to have a viewer tourney on a weekday or on a Sunday instead of my simul? Those are the two options I'm really thinking about. It's 12:30. I'm going to turn into a pumpkin in a few minutes. Sheppy just... He's using massive amounts of time on, like, one move. That's what I do sometimes when I'm not concentrating. I'm not in good... Like yesterday, I wasn't in a good shape somehow. I just started to tank on one move, like 40 minutes. I literally thought for, like, well, 30 minutes on one move. Something like that. I didn't even realize it. Please play queen e3. Hope he doesn't have, like, connection problem. I used a lot of time here too. Knight h1 voluntarily. Now black's just extremely active. He's letting me play f5. I mean, I don't even like my queen on d8 anymore. That is a5, but I can play queen b4. He's coming around to f2. He's getting really low on time. I'm going to coordinate. Okay, this lets him play a5, potentially, gaining space. But also brings my queen back in the fold. And I have threats, and I'm thinking about... just playing like standard type of plans here. Bishop d7. My knight is not trapped because I have knight g4. I'll take back with the pawn. And I'm intending to play f5. You know, normally the knight is going back to f7. If he plays f4, I have knight f7 on his bishop. But he regrouped here. Queen f4 was a weird plan. Wasted a lot of time. But now he's back into like a normal position. Now here I don't know though. I mean, I said knight f7, yeah. Knight f7 probably just wins. It's kind of... He can take on f5. I just take with the bishop. We're just winning a clear pawn. So it worked out in our favor, the whole weird bishop on h6, but I was just kind of lucky he got in time pressure. Because, I mean, objectively, I can win a piece here. Bishop takes c3. It's probably best. He has just 2 pawns for a piece. But now he's threatening knight f4, which is kind of nasty. It's going to be hard to get that guy off of f4. And that's... Anyway. I'm not objectively sure if I made the best moves there. He has check on e7. This is a really weird situation. Am I lost now? He's got a defense for everything. It's got a little closer than I felt it should have been. Alright, man. Wow, that was a little weird at the end. I think I let it get a little bit out of control. Maybe you're even okay at some point at the end. After you lost a piece here, it should have been an easy operation, but I let it get a little too scary. Maybe I was winning all along, but it looked very frightening. admittedly. Apparently this was good. No, I probably had it under control, but thank you for the game, man. It was kind of scary. I don't think I had a serious problem, but it was pretty messy. I think you should think about bishop h6 or not, you know, in those lines. I'm not really sure it's good to play bishop h6. It's okay, but it's probably best not to do that, you know, just not trade any pieces. Keep the pressure. I have a strong bishop on g7, but you have other trumps. So anyway, guys, we're going to be back tomorrow. I'll see you all then. Blue Crow, thanks for moderating. Again, guys, please donate via PayPal and support the stream on my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. Subscribe and like over there. We have videos, upload all the streams over there on YouTube as well. So you can, if you miss something while I'm streaming live, you can always catch up with it on the YouTube channel. See you guys tomorrow, 10 a.m. CEST. Bye bye.